So, Rich, let's move on to an interesting poem here. This is a long one, but it's worth talking about. It's Heracles. So there you have an image of two boys, basically, one older than the other one. The one with the crown is Emperor Elagabalus. So I want to tell you a little bit about Elagabalus. I'm sure people have heard about him. Sorry about the sound from this chair. I have to change it. It's old, just like me. So I'm going to try to just tell you what happened to this kid without reading this, because otherwise I'll get all mixed up. This kid, I will read his name: Sextus Varius Abitus Basinaus, or Basinius, whatever. He was a kid, a 14-year-old kid from the province of Syria in ancient Rome. He was the child of a wealthy family living in this small town where they worshipped a El Gabal. Remember Syria is an Arabic place. You know, they speak Arabic. I don't know exactly what language they spoke then, but probably something similar. And so it's El Gabal. El Gabal was the name of the god that they worshipped. So this 14-year-old kid, was a priest in this temple. That's all he knew, all his life. And all of a sudden, they decide to bring him to Rome and make him an emperor, the emperor of the Roman Empire. So they bring him to Rome, and what does he do? Well, first of all, I do want to tell you what historians tell us about Elagabalus. So he is described by his contemporaries as having a delicate, androgynous appearance. He dressed, or she dressed, or they dressed in feminine attire, wore makeup, and often engaged in same-sex alliances. One of them evolved into a significant relationship when he fell in love with Heracles, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But one of the first things that this kid did when he arrived in Rome was to build a temple in honor of who? El Gabal, the god that he knew about, you know. And so, of course, the Roman elites were disgusted with that. You know, who is this kid to come here from a province and build a grand temple in honor of a god that we don't know? And on top of that, the kid is dressing as a girl, putting makeup on. As I said, you know, they describe him as having an androgynous appearance. Something was off in the eyes of the Roman elites. So after he built that temple, people in Rome decided to start calling him by a nickname, Elagabalus. That was not his name, but they chose to start calling him that. And he is known as Emperor Elagabalus. The thing is, this kid falls in love with someone by the name of Heracles. And Heracles wasn't just anybody. Heracles was a slave. And this kid, Elagabalus, the emperor of the Roman Empire, decides to have a public wedding ceremony where he or she or they openly take the role of bride of this slave. And that just did it. Immediately people, were rejecting him and hating him and condemning him and joking about him. He's a kid, a 14-year-old kid. What did he know? He knew about love. He was in love with this other kid, a little older than him. And so basically the emperor's, Elagabalus' willingness to take the role of a bride of a male slave was perceived as a shocking subversion and a challenge to the Roman notion of masculinity. Remember, people were having all kinds of relationships, but if you were a citizen of Rome and you were a male, you were supposed to take the dominant role in any type of relationship. And so for the Roman emperor to take the role of a submissive to a slave, it just didn't fly, you know? So this is, this poem is called Heracles. It's written from the viewpoint of Elagabalus and how he met Heracles. Heracles was a slave who was a charioteer at the Circus Maximus, one of the arenas in Rome. You had the Colosseum and you had the Circus Maximus. So he met him there. So here we go. I searched for you beneath the Circus Maximus, within the labyrinth of tunnels where the sweat and blood of gladiators had been sealed into the stone for centuries. The clash of blades above, the thunder of the chariots faded to nothing the instant your breath carried your voice. Hail Caesar, you said, as my gaze lingered on your golden mane, gently falling on your shoulders, hewn from living marble. I replied softly, they call me Elagabalus. You smiled, and I became undone. What empire could hold me when you brandished such powerful a spell? Not Rome. I yielded to your charms and brought you into my court, where I had been despised as the dainty lad turned empress, who brought with her a sun god from strange and distant lands. And when I draped myself in silk and proudly stood beside you as your bride, my eyes sought only you beneath the gilded veil. Henceforth, you were my king and husband, and I your queen and wife. The city gnashed its teeth, and yet the sun still rose. Did we not feast and dance under the vaulted sky with flutes and lyres proclaiming how we felt despite the puerile laws that would deny us both? Alas, Rome was a cruel beast, and I was but a child, defiant yet unwitting. They came at night, my own Praetorian guard, and sank their daggers deep into my heart. At once they cast my shell into the Tiber, eager to vanish me forever, claimed by the water's debts. Yet here we are, my dear Heracles, timeless as the sunrise. Though they tried to vanquish us, our love endures in the hearts of those stirred by our flame and undeterred by malice and brutality. So they murdered the kid after 4 years of being an emperor. They decided, his own Praetorian Guard decided to get rid of him. Horrible end for somebody who I sense was the first transgender, if you want to call her that way. I mean, it's almost a shame to say he, because, you know, she saw herself as a she, but also maybe a trans. I don't know. Amazing, an amazing story that filled me with sadness. You know, that things like that happened in the past. I mean, it was a cruel world, and it still is. You know, trans people right now, trans individuals are being persecuted, and I would even go as far as to say tortured. Maybe not physically, but certainly mentally. You know, if you're a trans person, it's not easy. And so I feel very much identified with that kind of suffering. And so I thought that this would be worth writing about. You know, this is about a trans person in ancient times.
Hello, can I interrupt again?
Yes, sure.
Yes, we have another question for you, Mr. DC Wilkinson. It's from the one and only Joel Osnos.
Hi, Joel.
Yes, he would like to know. His question is, what was the process of finding a publisher for your work, And was it a difficult effort?
Oh my God. Yes, it was. It was difficult. I had to do a lot of research. I had to vet different publishers, and I needed a lot of help in every sense. Putting together a book. I mean, writing is the easier part. You know, you sit and you enjoy. I enjoyed the writing. I tortured people like Rich and others, reading them and asking them to tell me. I had beta readers, of course, um, for Devin streams and also for this book. And then I had to go out there and look for a publisher, and it wasn't easy. And when I did, I needed help to so that nothing would be distorted. I wanted to have control. I never sold my rights. I never sold my rights so that I could keep my integrity. And so, yeah, thank you for the question. It wasn't easy. It's not, it's not fun. That part is not fun because writers write. That's what we know. We really don't know about the publishing. I learned a lot about the publishing process. I also learned a lot in the past year and a half about promotion, how to promote my book, and that is extremely difficult because the retailer does absolutely nothing to help. They just take the money, and they take 80%, 60%. You don't make any money from this unless of course you are a bestseller, and a bestseller has to sell 5,000 units in 1 week. That's according to the New York Times. That's their standard. Amazon standard is 3,000 units per week. So I am really far from being a bestseller. I'm hoping that I'll be discovered somehow, but it's not going to be easy. So I just keep writing, and that's all I can. I mean, I might as well enjoy the process. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
well, you'll always be a bestseller in this house. So.
Thank you.
Before you go on with the next one, we have another question from
Sure.
Sandra.
Sandra. Hi,
And
Sandra. Welcome.
I'm just going to I'm going to summarize the question here. It's basically back when you were talking about like with Abe Lincoln, when you said, this happened and that happened. Why don't we talk about it? Let's talk about it. Sandra wants to know who, in your mind or your opinion, would benefit most from such a discussion, especially as it relates to historical truth, and how could the LGBTQ community support such a discussion or educational options about historic reality that your research and poems have brought back to our attention?
I think, knowing about these things benefits society in general. It is critical, in my view, that kids in school know that we exist and it's okay. That there is diversity in the world, and that diversity makes us all richer. And if we suppress a group of people and we pretend they don't exist, we're doing a disservice to society. Do we want to be carbon copies of each other? Or do we want to live in a world that's black and white, in terms of how people view it? Or do we want a rainbow, which is reality? Do we want to see reality as what it is? And so, to me, bringing up these issues and allowing people especially young people, to know that we are here. Yes, okay, so who could say what Abe Lincoln did in the privacy of his own bed? We don't know, but there are plenty of letters and plenty of things, plenty of evidence. The letters that they exchange, Joshua, just referring to Joshua Speed and Abraham Lincoln, there's plenty. And by the way, I failed to mention, I gave the title "My Honest Abe" because it's Joshua speaking, but there's a purpose to that. Abraham Lincoln was being honest to Joshua Speed because he was being, if he was engaged in a homosexual relationship with him, or bisexual, whatever you want to call it, a sexual relationship, he was being honest to Joshua Speed. Now, was he being honest to Mary Todd, his wife? I don't know. But that is why I chose that title, My Honest Abe. But we need to be honest with ourselves as a society. That's my view. We need to look at all of us. And thank you so much. That was a wonderful question.
Sandra then says, how does the LGBTQ community get this done? Marches, Netflix. How do you pursue that?
Well, I'm not a political creature. I talk to you, Sandra. I talk to my friends about Joel, Flavio. We talk, but I don't go out there and at this point in my life, I'm not going to any demonstrations. I remember when I was younger, I did go to some demonstrations. I remember when HIV was destroying the LGBTQ community, or most especially gay men. And I did go out there. I was on Fifth Avenue in New York City chanting, "We're here, we're queer, get used to us." And that was so powerful, and I didn't understand exactly at the moment what we were saying, but we were saying, we're here, see us, we're here, we're human beings, and we're dying. And so that was extremely powerful to me. So I'm not going out there to demonstrate anymore, but I'm hurling love at people with what I'm writing, and my own truths, and they're not really my own truths. They are what they are. They come from, these are stories about people that are real or were real. And that's why the book is called Scents of Lavender, because it's a scent that flows with that melody that I call love, that moves through time and space. It's a timeless thing, but the scents are here. They're still here. We can still feel them. And so we just need to recognize them. So let's recognize them. And so the LGBTQ community can do a lot by not being silent. That's the worst possible thing that could happen, being silent. I think that these poems defy silence. And basically the message is, we're here. We're queer. We've always been here. Get used to us. Thank you, Sandra. So, Rich, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so if there aren't any further questions, we only have a few more minutes. I don't know if I have time for another one.
Yes, yeah, you do. You can do Mulpadia's Curse.
Okay. So this is, again, it's about, this is a little different because Mulpadia's Curse is about the Amazons of today's Turkey, and at the time that the historians wrote about a queen called Penthesilea. Um, Several historians wrote about the Amazons, and of course the Amazons are considered myths and legends. But let me just begin by saying that the historian that wrote the most about this person, this queen, this Amazon queen, was somebody by the name of Arctinus of Miletos, and he described Penthesilea as an Amazon warrior queen who ruled over Anatolia, a region in today's Turkey. She was an ally of King Priam during the Trojan War and was killed by Achilles. Now, the Amazons, as I just mentioned, they're considered myths and legends. However, some historians suggest that Queen Penthesilea might have been inspired by a real person or a composite of several female warriors said to be brave, wise, and skilled with weapons. As for Penthesilea's personal life, I keep saying it wrong, Penthesilea. As far as her personal life, there are some hints in ancient texts that she might have had a close relationship with another woman, Molpadia, a warrior and loyal follower. So this is Molpadia's curse, and it is Molpadia who's speaking. And she speaks about the moment that, a very special moment when the love of her life, the queen, is murdered, is killed by Achilles, none other than Achilles. So the poem starts with like this. I curse the muses who whispered doom to Homer and beckoned Helen to Troy's shores. For theirs were the visions that wrought a most perfidious war. Alas, it was Arctinus of Miletos who conjured you, my noble queen and darling lover, Penthesilea, to heed the wails of Priam, a haunted king abandoned by the gods. And thus we rode from Anatolia, your faithful warriors, to meet our fate outside the crumbling walls of a city under siege. Our swords and armor gleaming, we stood as one with Paris, aggrieved by Hector's fall, as war cries shook the heavens and echoed through the land. Until the fateful night that brought Achilles cloaked in shadow, bearing the blade that struck you and wrenched you from my arms. Oh, cruel fate! I would have cried, heartbroken at the sight of your pyre, had I not been aware that the wiles of Arctinus's muses, had made our tale of passion immortal, forever etched in the marrow of time. So this is a little bit whimsical at the end, because as much as she's cursing Homer and saying, explaining how they had to go and fight for this king that obviously she didn't like very much, she realized that perhaps this is all a tale, because in fact, they are a myth. They're mythical Amazons. But were they? Are they a myth, a legend, or perhaps? Just not too long ago, I don't know how long, maybe a few decades ago, they found Troy. The archaeologists found the city of Troy. So perhaps Achilles, Paris, Priam, Queen Penthesilea, maybe they're not characters. Maybe they're not myths and legends. Maybe they're real. How long did it take? We all thought that Troy, the world thought Troy was, somebody's imagination, but it wasn't. So anyway, I think we have 2 minutes left. I want to thank everyone.
Well, first of all, before you do that, one final question.
Sure.
We have, it's coming from Suzanne.
Suzanne, hi.
Suzanne read your novel, Devin's Dreams, and absolutely loved it. And she wanted to know,
thank you.
What do you prefer, writing a novel or writing poetry? Do you prefer one to the other?
That is an excellent question. It took me 3.5 years to write Devin's Dreams. Enormous amounts of research. And I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, but it's so time consuming. I have a work in progress right now. I am working on another novel. It's going to take me a while. But I love writing poetry. I adore it because I can dig into, I can immerse myself into a relationship, and I can describe it, to the best of my ability. And it doesn't take me that long. It takes maybe a week or more. It takes me a while, but never years. Devin's Dreams is a 360-page novel, historical, mystery, 3 timelines. So yeah, I enjoyed writing it, but I'm not sure I'm going to write another one that long. I mean, the next one I'm working on, I don't believe it's going to be that long. So, but thank you for the question, Suzanne. That's an excellent question. I appreciate it. Are we still? I think our time is up, right, Rich?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we should start wrapping things up so we can let people go in a couple minutes.
So I just want to say that one thing for the people that are left here with us, that I partnered with somebody who created some artwork that I'm not profiting from. It goes to LGBTQ plus individuals with disabilities, creatives, people who are writing or theater people. And so they created on a place called Redbubble.com. They created this art. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, right there's good.
Cups and cards. Whoops. Maybe I should move back. Cards.
Yeah, that's good right there.
This is the book itself, Sense of Lavender. Beautiful book. That's, with the illustrations. It's really quite a beautiful laminated book. You can get the book on Amazon and the products on Redbubble. It's a site where you can just put my name.
And a shout out to David for buying the T-shirt. And
oh my God, David! I can't believe you. I told the guy that creates the merchandise. I said, my friends are not going to buy T-shirts, and I mean, the guy is like trying to sell, shower curtains and socks, and I don't know. And I never imagined that one of my friends would buy a T-shirt. And there you were. You sent me a picture of yourself with a T-shirt. This is a Sense of Lavender. You're just like I told you privately. You are, you just destroyed a false prophet. Me. Nobody would, among my friends, would buy that kind of product, but you did. So wonderful. Once again, I do not get a penny out of that. It all goes to LGBTQ plus disabled creative individuals. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I think it's time to close. Rich?
Yes, thank you for all of your support today, and I think it went pretty well for our first time here. I think we did all right, and you guys asked some great questions today, and we hope to maybe do this again. And they might even have us do this again in a couple of weeks. So anybody that missed it today, or if you guys want to join again, feel free.
Yeah, that's what they've asked us. They offered us to do it a second time, and I said, well, we'll see how this goes. This is basically practice. So thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you for your support. We love you guys, and happy Pride, everybody.